Welcome to Americana Archives. Today we have part 5 of the story with the headline, Underground Railroad Reminiscences. This article was written by H.E. Nottingham. It says, the last trip that he took was with a woman and her little girl. They had been at Mr. S. Goddard's for a day or two. There were only 2 men in the town and Mr. Scott felt that it would be safe for them to know of his errand. One of these met the party by the old creamery and thrust a bill into the woman's hand and said, "That's my part towards this trip." Had they been taken, Mr. Scott would have been subject to a fine of $2,000 apiece for the runaways. They met with no trouble, however, and he left them safely at Mr. Edwin Runnels, about 2 miles west and 1/2 mile north of Highwater, McKean Township. Mr. Runnels was a strong abolitionist and improved every opportunity he had to assist his unfortunate black brother. Considering Utica as the next noted station north of Granville, some time was spent in and about Utica in the endeavor to locate some of the stations to which Granville conductors delivered their charges. Several stations were located, but it was not discovered whether many fugitives went there from here or not. John D. Kirkpatrick, who now lives about 5 miles northeast of Newark, gave the following as underground stations near Utica: Nathaniel Kirkpatrick, Peter Kirkpatrick, L.W. Knowlton, David Kirkpatrick, and William Porterfield, who lived near Hunt Station. From there they were taken to Mount Vernon, then Frederickstown, and on to a Quaker settlement north of Mansfield. His father David was quite active in this work. In addition to these, J.C. Stevenson, who lives southwest of Newark, gives the following: William King, William Stevenson, Robert McFarland, William Dunlap, James Dunlap, John Dunlap, William Campbell, Caleb Lyons. Then he added the following: I was quite a small boy when the Underground Railroad was in operation, but I remember at one time a number of slaves were brought from a station near Orville on their way through Zanesville to Utica. They were brought to our home. Father put them upstairs, kept them till the next night, and at 12 o'clock they were started on their way to the next station. My older brother would ride a horse and would have a sheepskin for a saddle. The black men would be directed to follow a boy riding on a roan horse with a sheepskin for a saddle. After the railroad went through in 1851, many were put on board the trains. One was hid in a baggage car at Newark. The master was on the same train. About 5 minutes before the train started, he walked up to the conductor and ordered him to start the train immediately. The conductor paid no attention to him at first, but the southerner persisted, and at last the conductor said, "What's your hurry? This train will start on scheduled time and not a minute before." Then the anxious traveler explained that he was after a lost slave, and that he wanted to catch him before he got into the Quaker settlement. After the train was under headway, the conductor went into the baggage car and there found the fugitive. He said to him, "Are you a runaway slave?" The slave nearly turned white with fright. Then Mr. Patterson, the trainman, assured the frightened fellow that he was his friend, and told him that his master was on the train. He then taught him how to jump off a moving train. When they passed through the Quaker settlement, the speed was slackened, and the fugitive jumped safely to the ground and ran like one possessed. The master saw him speeding across the field and tried to have Mr. Patterson, who managed to be near him at the time, stop the train. But the conductor informed him that it was a through train and did not stop there. $1,000 were offered if he would stop the train, but the exasperated man was carried to the next regular stop. There he endeavored to obtain a posse to return for his slave at the Quaker settlement. The inhabitants said, "Not on your life." Every Quaker there would give his own life before he would permit the capture of that slave. So after some time spent in fruitless search, he returned unrewarded. David Kirkpatrick had a large dog, and one night as he was taking a big burly fellow to Hunt Station, the big slave turned in the seat, whipped out a revolver, and said, "Whose dog is that?" Mr. Kirkpatrick informed him that it was his own. The slave said, "I sure thought they were after me with bloodhounds. They'll never take me alive." W. P. Kirkpatrick, son of David Kirkpatrick, said that many a time when a mere lad, he had given up his bed to the fugitive that he might have one good rest. At this same station, there were 6 kept for about 2 weeks, whose own master helped them to escape. He had promised to give them their freedom on the 1st of January. Sometime before, he had gone security for a friend, and in November, his enterprise failed. The night before his property was to be sold, the master asked his servants if they wanted to go to a dance across the river. Of course they did, so he took the whole black family. George, the father, Mrs. Robinson, Jerome Bonaparte, the oldest boy, 2 other boys, and a girl 3 years old. After crossing the Ohio, he put them on the underground route and started them toward freedom. Early the next morning, the trick was discovered, and a party was sent after them. Although they had many narrow escapes, they at last reached their haven of freedom. A boxcar was run up to the warehouse at Utica for grain. In the car was a man on his way to Canada. He was sent to L.W. Knowlton's till the car was ready for shipping. Then he was put in the car with plenty of provisions, and the car was billed for Sandusky. This car was coupled onto the regular passenger. But just before they pulled out, the conductor discovered that his fellow's master was on the train. For a minute, the conductor was at a loss to know what to do. Then he examined the boxcar and pretended that it was in bad order, so that it was cut off till the next day. This was done by conductor Wesley Kinsel. Joshua Penn and David McConnell of Utica went out north of town hunting squirrels one morning. As they entered a little ravine, slaves commenced to pop up and run in all directions. After some effort, they were assured that their disturbers were not after so large game, and they returned to their hiding places till after dark. There were 7 men and 1 woman in the party. Mr. J. A. Hollister of Newark, when only 12 years old, became a conductor on the Underground Railroad. He said that he did it at first from a mercenary impulse. He received $10 a month for being always ready to take parties from South of Newark to Reverend John Lee's at St. Louisville, or on to Utica, Mount Vernon, or Fredericktown. Reverend John Lee had rooms fitted up, especially for the purpose of entertaining the fugitives. Once when a party were overtaken at his place by his pursuers, Mr. Lee took the runaways out in the woods back of the house and buried them under a brush pile. The party in search even rubbed up against the brush pile, but did not discover their prey. To be continued. Check back soon for the next installment of this incredible story. This story came from the great state of Ohio, being reported in the Granville Times of February 1st, 1912. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.